Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started, it's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. Yeah,
get your boots ready. We're about to go on a trip where we wrestle, nobody settling or calling it quits. You're here for the grit, betcha this stuff is amazing. You're stumbling, welcome to the bump in the apron. Step into it, the hardest part of the ring. Here to bring fun, yeah, in this art he is king. It's the best thing, making sure you don't tap out. Don't go soft with the hardest podcast out. And it's not just another one, it's clear. Off the rest, in this content, none contest. Take the nonsense off the steps. You know it's nothing but pure gems when it's coming off the chest. Get it? Now it's time to sit and relax. Get your mind blown away, ain't no skipping this track. Have you paying more attention, no listening gap. Get everything I ever wanted, no giving it back. Yeah.
Ooh, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Apron Bump podcast. I'm your host, the hardest part of the ring, also known as Kyle. How's everybody doing today? Hey, I got a question for you all. Is it a dick move to declaw your cat? I think so, right? I mean, is it possible to just, cause this gabagool over here, Dwayne, this dude scratches his eye like once a week, bro. Like the past month or two, it's like every other week it's been. We'll just walk in on him and he has one eye completely shut. Fucking idiot. He's just scratching it because he has the stupid little cat thumbs. What are they called? Dew claws? Stupid little cat thumbs that you know how cats do it, right? Is it possible to just get that thumb taken out? At this point, like, Jesus Christ. Like, I don't want to declaw him completely because then he won't be able to defend himself if he gets out in the wild, because there's a lot of naturally born killers out there. But speaking of which, ECW, Natural Born Killaz, 1996 is the show we are covering today. ECW, man, 1996. What a time. What a time. I was thinking the other day, man, like at this point, like all of the storylines going on right now in ECW, like at the same time, like how many like in-depth, dramatic, like thought out storylines. Like how, like just the incredible depth and breadth of the storylines. Because you have like up top, you got Raven as the world champion, and he's psychologically abducted Sandman's son and Sandman's ex-wife to be in his cult, and now Sandman has to like fight. He's trying to get to Raven, but Raven keeps putting his family in between them. So there's that whole thing. You got Tommy Dreamer still around, you know, Raven and Tommy, I think they had sex with each other at summer camp, something along those lines, and somebody's the scorned lovers. I think that's the gist of the story. But you got the FBI, which is building up to be a really significant faction. You got the Dudley boys, like the internal civil war, the power struggle, the different, you know, family members, which all comes to a head on this show. Shane Douglas and the Pitbulls. Pitbull number 1 gets damn near paralyzed. He's out there in a neck halo. And Shane Douglas and Francine, who turned on the Pitbulls, and now they're poking fun at this virtually crippled man as the other Pitbull tries to take Shane Douglas's title. You got the Eliminators and the Gangstas. You know, the Gangstas obviously comprised of New Jack and Mustafa. We talked about this on the episode, I think. But New Jack, he had like a nephew that got killed in the projects, and now New Jack's like, I gotta keep these titles to get my family out of there. And then the Eliminators are like, fuck that stupid kid, and they take all of the New Jack's money and is like, Like New Jack, all New Jack does all New Jack wants is to buy this kid a tombstone because they couldn't afford him one, and the Eliminators like steal the Gangsters win a match, and the Eliminators like just pickpocket them, and they're like, fuck that stupid kid. Like there is a lot of, I mean, it's a lot. It's not all good, but it's all very, I'm invested in a lot of things in ECW. Let's put it that way. Now, the method in delivering those stories in the ring, bell to bell, maybe there's some to be desired, but we'll get into that, of course, and we'll get into all of that specifically, and we'll compare all of this. We'll compare it to what WWF is doing at this point. We'll compare it to what WCW is doing at this point. And the hardest promotion battle of 1996 will continue. So stick around to the end of the podcast where we will grade this show and we'll compare against what the other companies are doing. We'll see we'll see how the standings shake out. There's point values associated to all sorts of different criteria. So make sure to stick to that. I feel like there might be some moving and shaking after this one, but that'll be something. That'll be a thing that happens. Oh, by the way, my very special guest on this podcast is none other than a participant in one of the great stories that I just laid out. Bay Ragni, otherwise known as Chubby Dudley, hopping on the apron bump today to gallivant through the show that was ECW Natural Born Killers. Ton of fun with, do I call him Chubby? Do I call him Bay? I'll call him Bay. Feels weird just calling a guy Chubby. But a fantastic time with Bay on this episode. He's a really cool dude, really knowledgeable. Of course, he played a big part in it. And just great to get his insight on what ECW was like at this point. A lot of fun stories on several of the characters that we talk about. So that was a good old time. And if you want more Bay, you want more Chubby Dudley, check the description for all that stuff. You can find him on YouTube at Chubby Dudley Official. Give him a subscribe. He gets a lot into his days in ECW, even like the very early days before Extreme Championship Wrestling, when it was just Eastern Championship Wrestling. He brings on a lot of alumni from that time from ECW, and he has a good old time doing it. So go check that out at Chubby Dudley Official. Also find him on Facebook, where he's very active and very interactive on there. All of that will be in the description below or above or wherever the fuck. Do that. Give him a follow on X as well. Give me a follow on X if you like. I don't blame you if you don't want to, but it sure be nice. At Apron Bump on all the social medias. X, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff. Follow, subscribe, like, bell, ring-a-ding-ding. Jiggle my balls, spit in my mouth, do all those things. And with that, I think we might as well jump right into it, baby. ECW, Natural Born Killaz, 1996. With myself and Bay Ragni, otherwise known as Chubby Dudley. But yeah, ECW, like up to this point, like watching to it with fresh eyes, I mean, I'm really enjoying it. I think, like, as far as, ECW, WCW, WWF at this point, I feel like ECW probably has the most compelling stories overall.
Absolutely.
I mean, what are your, because you were there, like the mid-90s, right, in ECW?
So I was there from the beginning, 92, 93.
Okay.
Left, it was probably April or May of 93 as the Hell Riders. And in 95, the Dudleys debuted. I'm not even sure of the exact date they debuted. They debuted, and I said to myself, I was like, well, hell, you look like a fucking Dudley. Like, I was like, this is like a no-brainer. And Little Snot got really banged up bad in a car accident or something.
Oh, really?
And they wanted to bring in more Dudleys. And I went through wrestling school at Richards and was still close at Richards. And he calls me up. He's like, yo, he goes, we got this Dudley gimmick. I think you'd be perfect for it. I said, I think so too. I'm in. What do I got to do? And he set up the meeting for me and Paul, and the rest is history.
Well, so you're saying it's a character. They're not a true, like you didn't grow up with the Dudleys in Dudleyville is what you're telling me.
I did not.
Wow, I had so many questions about the Dudley
See
household,
that?
but I guess I'll just scrap or
So
whatever.
many questions about Dudleyville itself.
All of the various, because it was one dad, right? And just a bunch of different moms,
Yes.
I believe. Yeah, of course.
He was a traveling salesman.
So to speak.
Yes.
I hear you. But yeah, and watching ECW, I mean, one of the most like entertaining stories that I'm witnessing is the Dudleys and how, like you said, it just progressively grows. Like it just started out as Dudley. I think it was Dudley and Snot Dudley. And then, of course, Bubba comes in. Then you got Chubby Dudley and DW and Sign Guy and Devon and Big Dick, of course. So, and just the dynamic of, in hindsight, watching Bubba and Devon, kind of the two heads that are against each other. And of course, they eventually come together. But it's interesting watching these early seeds of the Dudley storyline play out. I mean, what was it like? Because, I mean, you're relatively, I guess, a background character in the Dudleys, I would say. Totally. But what was it like just experiencing the Dudleys and how that storyline progressed and what ended up being?
It's weird, funny, and actually I'm very excited. Once I saw the match listing for Natural Born Killers, I got happy because, when the Dudleys started, and I came in very shortly after they started, probably a month later, it was just filler. The Dudleys were filler, little comedic relief. Opening match, second match of the show. You can tell they really didn't know what they were going to do with the Dudleys yet. They were technically like part of Raven's flock, but they weren't.
Right.
And they were their own thing. And they were just trying to figure out what was going to happen and see if we were going to get over with the fans. And slowly we got over with the fans out of the comedic relief between Bubba with his stuttering, his dance moves. And I think an important part of getting the Dudleys over was DW. I think DW was the true star of the bunch and the true comedy and the best worker of all of us at that point in time. And then as things progressed, and then Devon came in and really changed the whole element of things with this brotherly feud, that it escalated into something I don't think anybody really saw coming. And that I felt, and I've said many times over the years, the match in Natural Born Killers was the turning point in the Dudleys' career, Bubba and Devon's everything. That was the match that put those guys and the Dudleys on the map, and the fans were like, "Oh shit, this is different. This is not what we were expecting from them guys." And even the locker room, they took from the point we walked back into the dressing room afterwards. We had a lot of heat because we went above and beyond in that match, and we were like, maybe the second match on the show, a third match on the show, whatever it was. Right. And people were pissed because we went. I mean, as soon as we walked back out of the curtain, we were getting fucking blasted. We went all over the arena. Bubba was jumping off on the
stage,
off a freaking PA speaker. It was crazy. And I remember even saying to myself in the match, as the fans would get into us, but never like that. So to experience that as I'm in the crowd with them, because my job was, I was paired up with Big Dick, and Sign Guy got paired up with Bubba, and we were like their security as we were going through the crowd,
Mhm.
and it was crazy. It was complete mayhem, crazy, and I was saying to myself, things are changing. Things
Yeah.
are going to change, and they did.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, no, to your point, it's fascinating to watch how the Dudleys, like you say, they kind of just started off as a faction within a faction, kind of. I think they were
Yeah.
heels at first, if I'm remembering
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah, I mean, supposedly Raven was the whole thing bringing us in, and we even did some run-ins early on for Raven.
Right. Yeah, and it was like, because like you said, you guys just got over organically to the point
Mhm.
where fans were behind you guys, and now you guys have your own thing going. And like I said, I'm not just saying this because you're here, but that Dudley match was the match of the night, I thought, from
Absolutely.
the show.
Absolutely.
It was a lot of mayhem and chaos is what that match was. But I think there's a lot of matches on here that kind of fall under that category, but the energy of that match, I
The
think,
energy, it was stiff as fuck. I mean, you see, I mean, Bubba and Devon just balls out, laid it into each other. They didn't hold back. They just fucking hauled off, and it worked.
Did they not like each other at the beginning? Or are they just being stiff?
That's a good question. As far as I know, I mean, I always felt everything was always cool with those guys.
Right.
I don't think there was ever any heat. And Devon, when Devon came in, and even Bubba, Bubba was more had a little ways about him. Typical Bubba, as you know, people still see to this day at times.
Right.
But Devon was always very respectable, like more the quiet, respectable one.
Right. Which is funny because on screen here, he's the loud mouth. He's the crass.
Yeah.
Like he is the most, in ECW terms, even, he's the most vulgar guy on the roster. And that's saying a lot. So
yeah, it's funny. It is
because
funny.
even like he would progress, like, you know, Bubba and Devon, he would be the more, like you said, the more quiet, the more kind of, you know, level-headed of the two, it seems like. But here he's like he's the guy, he's the catalyst that gets added to it that just creates all this chaos that we're seeing. But
I mean, when he came in though, it really, I didn't know where it was going to go. I mean, I was never privy to any talks or anything until the show, and usually it was the arena show where, you know, you get they'll tell you a couple of things about what they're thinking and planning, and then boom, away they go to the next match. And then you would go do your house shows or wherever, and you know, it was just like spot shows, and you know, it was nothing groundbreaking happening. But the arena shows, you know, those few minutes where you're getting things, you know, when Bubba came in, there wasn't nothing major. It was still kind of like, oh, okay. But when Devon came in, I could tell there was going to be a difference. You know, by the way they were talking, you know, they were trying to, you know, they were thinking about having him feud with us and how were they going to go about it and what was going to be the angle to it and this and that. And, you know, something that they started to do and then they turned it back and then they just blew it out of the gate and it took off. It worked.
Yeah, because, you know, the Dudleys, they started off as almost like a sideshow act or just comic relief. But here, like in this show, to your point, it seems like, okay, we've been building to the tension in between Devon and Big Dick and Devon and Bubba. And now it seems like there's a way forward here. But
I mean, as soon as I just scrolled through YouTube real quick while I was at work, and there was a trailer for it for like the VHS sale.
Oh, yeah.
And they show a quick snippet of Bubba and Devon at ringside just hauling off and just clocking each other in the face. And I'm like, I was waiting for it because I'm pretty sure like it got to the point where Devon popped Bubba and Bubba was just like, and then clocked him again.
So good. Yeah, it's like that. The hatred between them comes off the screen, which is why I asked if there was heat. So that's a mark of a good worker there, I guess.
It worked. No, yeah, they were working. Yeah.
But before we get there on this show starts off, Natural Born Killers, with Devon Storm versus Louie Spicolli. Got a very eclectic group of people on this card. It's very interesting. But we got old dangerous Devon Storm here, who I believe is with Damian Kane. So I guess they got a little faction going there. Louie Spicolli, I think he just popped in ECW for not too long.
Yeah, he was. Spicolli was nice guy. Another dude that just he like had a lot of potential. I was always hearing like so many awesome things about him in in the sheets and everything, and through word of mouth. And when he came in ECW, I was excited. I was like, I can't wait to see Louie work. And very nice guy. And then he was gone. I think he went to Vince doing the Rad Radford gimmick, maybe.
So I know Rad Radford was before this. I don't know if he went
before?
back.
Okay. Okay. But he was only there. He was not there long. It was a short time. But Devin, I knew Devin for 2-3 years at this point because I used to me and a couple of the other Philly guys like Steve Richards and some of the other Philly guys, we would when we didn't have shows or we couldn't get some ring time, we used to go every other Saturday night. We would take a ride up to North Jersey, to Bricktown, New Jersey, to try to get on shows at work at Iron Mike Sharp School. He used to do house shows, and that's where Devon Storm came from, and Supernova, and a lot of other talented guys. And the funny thing, I was just telling this story the other night to somebody. The funny thing was, I guess a couple months before, maybe even longer than that. It might even have been a year before. I went and worked an NWA New Jersey show instead of going to ECW. And I think that probably got me some heat too, that I was never told about. But I walked into the locker room and Sabu was working the show, and I didn't know. And I walk in and Sabu's there, and he looks at me, and I look at him, and we're both like, "What are you doing here?" And he worked Devon Storm, and that match was just absolutely amazing. And I remember saying to Chris afterwards, "This is your time. This is this is going to be it for you. This is going to put you on the map." And it did, because then a few weeks later, I think he was probably at the next or the one after that at the ECW arena, working for ECW now, because of that match and Sabu putting him over. But I don't remember the match. I saw that on the listing, and I said to myself, yeah, I'm like, I don't remember the match. But the funny thing was, I like started laughing. I'm like, Damian Kane was the manager who needed a manager,
right?
With Lady Alexandra.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like Damian Kane, Lady Alexandra, and I think like the who were the SWAT team.
They had the bad crew.
Yeah. It's a very interesting faction. It didn't really do a lot for me, but this match here,
with them there was a deal. I think that at the time they were using Damian's Pennsylvania promoter's license. So that was like the trade-off. So
that's why he's so prevalent in all these shows.
Yeah.
Interesting. The Headhunters is who I was trying to think of. The big who were they in WWE? I don't remember.
Did they even go? They were in WWE?
I think maybe it was just the Rumble. I think it was Royal Rumble 96 they popped in.
Really? Okay. Where are those guys now?
That's a good question. Hopefully they're still around, right?
Yeah, right.
Headhunters, ECW. Let's see here. Don't know. Doesn't seem. I doubt they're still wrestling. Oh, they were on the independent circuit until 2018.
Really?
Jeez. So maybe they still got to run in them, huh?
Wow.
Let's get these guys on TV. Should put the belts on them, huh?
I wonder if they're still able to do a moonsault.
I bet. Could you ever do a moonsault?
No, absolutely not. I couldn't do a front salt, let alone a moonsault.
You could take a good chair shot, though. That's for sure.
I could take
a mean one.
Oh, I think I took a mean chair shot in this show.
Probably. You're always just getting hit for no reason. You're just minding your own business, and it's really a travesty.
I see some of them shots now, and I'm just I cringe. I'm like, holy shit.
There were some shots on the show that, like, I don't care what time period it is. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? We'll get to that. But there are some chair shots in this match, this opening match, which is really just kind of an extended squash for Louie Spicolli. Which is interesting that he left, not too long after this, because it seemed like they were building him up to be the next guy. And I thought he had so much potential as well. He has a style that I thought was very ahead of its time. The Spicolli driver, which would go on to be the Death Valley driver, which is such a prominent move nowadays. And he's kind of, I don't know if he invented it or if he just popularized it, but he hits a few of them in this match and gets the win over a dangerous Devon Storm. Crowd chants one more time after the Spicolli driver, and he does it again. So he's over, the move's over. And again, it's just kind of a squash match here a little bit, but I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was.
It's, I think Louie I think he passed away soon after he left, or
it was, I just looked it up. It was early 98, I believe. And this is mid 96.
Okay. So that was longer than I expected, but still, I would love to know what the issue or problem was there. I don't know if he had problems then. I mean, it's possible. It's very possible. I mean, we were all. I mean, it was a party. It was a party.
Yeah. Fortunately, it's just kind of what the times was, I guess.
Right.
But after that, we got the European Junior Heavyweight Championship match. Mikey Whipwreck, the champion, versus Little Guido. What are your thoughts on the EWA, Bay?
I don't even remember it.
I'd never heard of this until this popped up. I think it was a promotion that was around for like a few years, I think. But yeah, I've never seen a match from it. I've never heard anything about it, but I don't even know.
I'm trying to think. I just not ringing a bell.
I think it was a Philly-based promotion. Let me see if it pops up even.
EWA?
EWA, yeah. European Wrestling Alliance. Is that the same one? I don't know. Yeah. No? Wait, I don't think that's the same one. Yeah, it was a very short-lived promotion, but I think it's very interesting that we're getting a title match here. So I guess there's some affiliation with ECW, I suppose. But Mikey Whipwreck is currently the junior heavyweight champion and taking on Lil Guido. The Full-Blooded Italians is starting to gain some steam a little bit. We got JT Smith out there, Big Guido, Salvatore Bellomo. It's really starting to feel like a faction, because for a while it was just JT Smith singing Italian songs in the ring, and then Little Guido's there. But now it feels like they're gaining some steam.
What a great gimmick. And Little Guido, he used to work early ECW before we even had TV, as Damian Stone, and he was always a great dude. And he it's funny because when he was doing this Damian Stone gimmick, he used to come out with a New York Rangers jersey, and I always thought to myself, like, the dude's a good worker. He just needs a gimmick or something to get himself over. And when he found that, when they came up with that whole thing and he became Little Guido, it was like, it was amazing. And Mikey too. Like, I don't really know Mikey's whole background, but I mean, that fucking kid, he just he fit that role to a T, and he was magic, man. The two of them. Magic. So how was the match itself?
The match was fine. It was a little sloppy, a little bit towards the end, I guess. Okay. There were some fun moments. I mean, there's one point where Mikey does a plancha over the top on Guido, and then Mikey kicks Big Guido, and he like stumbles and like tumbles over the barricade, and then Mikey goes jumping into the crowd. So they went after it. Mikey always went after it, man. I mean, he was just throwing his body all over the place.
Yeah, he's paying the price now. We all are.
Yeah, unfortunately. But Guido, because Guido's a shoot fighter. He can go in the ring. He's nowadays known for his comedy-ish character and the FBI and all that stuff. But he's thrown out some submissions in this match, some chain wrestling. But ultimately, JT Smith at some point gets involved. But Mikey's still able to hit the Franken Mikey off the top rope, but it was just a bad landing. I think there was a slip somewhere. But Mikey just ended up hitting a top rope elbow instead afterwards, and that gives him the win here.
Okay.
And he's selling the knee after two. I don't know if that was a legit injury he suffered here or if it was just, I don't know, but so maybe that had something to do with it. He's bound to get injured at some point with all this stuff he's putting himself through, but for Mikey Whipwreck, so my thing with Mikey, because I like Mikey Whipwreck too, but to me, like his whole thing of like being the underdog, he comes out in the raggedy t-shirt and whatever, but he wins all the time. Like he's won all the titles in ECW. He's a world champion, the TV champion, tag champion. Now he's the prestigious EWA European champion. Do you think that diminished Mikey at all in his character being an underdog, but kind of always winning? No?
No, because it's weird because he had that just young boy lost look to him. He always had that look like, how the fuck did I do it?
Right.
And he also, believe it or not, something that is so and was so important to all the ECW guys and was groundbreaking and changed the business as well was the entrance music. Mm-hmm. Him coming out to the song Loser, everybody thought he was going to lose. Everybody always thought he was going to lose, and he ended up winning.
Right.
And him playing up that gimmick with that lost, confused look like I won, like, it just, I thought that was just a great, great gimmick.
Yeah.
And, it's funny because I was thinking of Mikey the other day. He popped in my head. Oh, somebody sent me something about Tajiri. And I was thinking when, towards the end when they teamed Tajiri and Mikey up and Mikey was like crazy now and all, I was like, what a great, he went from this loser gimmick to that. And it was like so believable. It was just a great change. And he was crazy and his work rate was unbelievable. He was like, like that Tajiri style. It was a true talent, man. A true talent. He's another guy that I don't think gets enough credit for what he did.
Yeah. He's trained a bunch of guys too, right? Especially at least like early Ring of Honor days. I know a bunch of guys because I know he popped up in early, like 2002, 2003 Ring of Honor. And just introduced a lot of his guys from his school to the company too. So he's had a big influence for sure. But we follow that up with a little Dudley Boys action. We got
so we were the third. We were third.
Yes.
We moved up the ladder.
Moving on up. So we got the Dudleys. We got Big Dick and Bubba taking on the team of Devon and Axel Rotten, which is an interesting addition to this storyline. Axel's got an interesting look here. He's got black hair with what looks like little dreads.
Like fishnets on his arms. Did he have that?
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you remember this aesthetic.
It was, you know what it was? At that time, Marilyn Manson was just breaking.
Okay.
So it was the Beautiful People and all that stuff was the hot music. And he was trying to go for that Marilyn Manson look.
He kind of just looks like Marilyn Manson now. I felt like in this match. But,
yeah, right. Right.
He had like the plaid shorts. It was interesting. I guess he's trying to.
Hey, man. It was 96. So
it was
interesting
the 90s.
Times.
Yeah. No rules when it comes to fashion. Sometimes it seems like.
Right.
But we got a tag team match here, and Devon comes out to start this off. He's just laying into the crowd. He's like pointing out specific people in the crowd and running them down. Because, like, the fans that would be there every time in the front row, like the guy with the straw hat, the guy with the long hair. I guess the guy with the long hair popped up in the crowd in WWE and WCW. So he's like, hey, pick a side, motherfucker. He's just like, and the guy in the hat, he's like, get a life. You're here every fucking night. You smell. I can smell you from here. He's just, Devon is hilarious, man.
Yeah. It's so funny.
But
that, it's great. That arena, like, wow. When I went through and was watching the Gangsters and Eliminators, just seeing some of those faces again, it's and how, I mean, those people were sardined in that place. Like,
right.
When it was like a thing, like when you were in, like you were in, like you weren't moving, you were in, and it was crazy, man.
It had to be so hot.
Oh, it was like freaking 200 degrees in there.
Oh man, what did it smell like in there? Can you describe what it smells like in a summertime ECW event?
Oh, gee, BO, sweat, and piss.
Whew, and that's just the wrestlers, right?
Yeah, right. That was the whole building.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And we get a street fight later that sees the outside of the building, and that's not much better. But
when we would get like bumped on the outside, I remember like when I would get home and I'd pull stuff out of my bag, it was like brown. I was like, oh,
dude, it's like so funny. It'll be like Shane Douglas wrestling, and he comes out in the yellow tights, and by the time the match is over, it's like a completely different color.
Yeah, dude. I mean, because people just. They were spilling their beers all over and
dip spit and God knows what else.
Who knows?
Well, you get some of that in this match. A lot of crowd fighting. Yeah. Again, I mean, just like you said earlier, a lot of stiffness, a lot of chair shots, a lot of table spots, which is a bit of foreshadowing for the later Dudleys.
Yeah.
But probably the most memorable spot of this entire match was Bubba jumping off of the stage, not just the stage, but the little speaker on the stage. So it was the stage plus another 5 or 6 feet, which was wild to see that big bastard jumping off of that.
I can tell you a funny story of that moment. So
please,
I was on the bleachers.
You were just eating chips.
I was eating chips, and
because you're chubby.
Still am on the top row of the bleachers, facing that. And, there was the bleachers and this gap to the stage. And I wanted to get on the stage, and I kept saying to myself, I'm not going to make the jump. I'm not going to make that jump.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a running start, and I can't like make this because it was like 4 or 5 feet. I'm like, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to fucking make it. But I need to get over there. And I'm just like, and you can see me on the tape, on the if you watch the video, you can see me. And I'm just like standing there. I'm just like, hey. And I'm like, all right, I got to turn around and get down through the crowd now.
You're there for moral support, not physical support.
Exactly.
So I wish you would have tried. I wish you would have tried and failed. Honestly.
I just saw it ending ugly and embarrassing. Yeah. And then they would have been chanting, "You fucked up. You fucked up."
That's got to be demoralizing to get that chant at you when you're in a wrestling ring.
Yeah, right.
What a time. What a time. But people are just casually getting thrown through tables. Bubba splashes Devon through a table, just kind of running at him. There's a leg drop off the apron through a table from Bubba. But ultimately, Devon and Axel get the advantage in the ring. Devon has a chair. Bubba's on his knees, and Devon says, I told you, this is my fucking family. And Devon swings the chair, but accidentally hits his partner. And Big Dick and Bubba team on Axel, and Dick does a reverse chokeslam onto Bubba to make him land on Axel.
Right, okay.
So the Dudleys get the win here, but yeah, just another pivot in the story of the Dudleys, which is again just one of my favorite storylines going at this point for sure.
I'm telling you, the way like they were waiting for us. Like when we were, I remember walking down the aisle, going back to the locker room, feeling like, holy fuck, that was amazing. That was great. As soon as we walked through the curtain, Tazz and
Oh,
it might have been New Jack, a few of them were all over us, fucking
what a
hollering
killer's
at us.
row. Those are the two worst people I do not want those guys mad at me.
Yeah. Oh no. So yeah, we got blasted. So I wonder. I mean, because I remember as they were kept pulling tables out, I'm like, do they have permission to do this? Like, did they ask anybody? They just kept pulling tables out. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, it's extreme, man. There's no rules, I guess. But yeah,
I mean, they went to Staples earlier in the day and bought however many tables. So.
All right, they had a big stack of them, so it's like not like they're gonna run out of them. I don't know,
Crazy.
But I was wondering because there were like at least 3 or 4 matches on this card that went to the stage area. So I was always wondering, like, do people kind of like talk to each other, like, "Hey, are you gonna fight on the stage? Okay, then I won't. I'll go on the other side," type of thing. But
well, like yeah, I mean, obviously nobody said nothing to us about going to the stage, and I don't. I think what had happened was it was more or less too, the crowd was just so into it and just inspiring everything that went on.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of hard not to go there.
When you're over, you're over, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, great shit. But we follow that up with Missy Hyatt and Lori Fullington in the ring. So Missy has been with Sandman for at least a few months, maybe more like a year at this point. Lori Fullington, the ex-wife of Sandman. So we're in the midst of the Sandman and Raven storyline where Raven has basically recruited Lori and Sandman's son Tyler to be in his flock, his cult, whatever.
How fucking crazy was that gimmick?
Wild. I mean, it's like, I feel like we've never seen anything similar like to that in wrestling.
No, I remember when they were like doing that, and like they're in the back talking it, and Hack, he just didn't care, like whatever, like have his son cane him, whatever the hell you needed to do, he just didn't care, like just get it over. And I was thinking to myself, this kid's like fucking 7-8 years old, like
right.
This might be crossing the line now. Like we did cross the line 1, 2, 9. And I think this was crossing the line. When you start involving a child like that, I don't know, man. It was deep. It was crazy.
Yeah, there were some crazy promos and backstage vignettes.
Yeah,
with all this I mean, it's just wild. But there's that element of realism. I guess maybe not realism, but maybe relatability that I think ECW had that maybe you weren't seeing at WWF or ECW.
Oh, true.
Or WCW. So to that, I mean, it's yeah.
Even the whole thing with Hack and Lori, like I don't even know if they were still together at the time. Like I don't know. It was just truly some crazy shit. They I don't know, man.
Sandman strikes me as a guy that's down for whatever. I mean, I don't know him, but he seems like, whatever. Just give me a beer and a cane. We'll make it work.
Whatever it took to get it. I mean, that was the thing about Hack. And he would, whatever needed done to get anything over, he would just do. He was down for it. You're right. If it made sense. It had to make sense.
Of course. Who's the better Hack? Sandman or Hack Myers?
Ooh. Ooh, fuck.
Yeah. Because one's a Shah and one's not a Shah.
Yeah, well,
just throwing it out there.
So Hack is that's just his own nickname somehow that he had before he even got in wrestling.
Wasn't that his name in WCW? Sandman's name? Wasn't he like Hack?
Hardcore Hack or something, was it?
Something along those lines.
Yeah. But Hack Myers, I mean,
he's a phenomenon.
He was over.
Yeah. I don't know what it was. I think it was just Hack in WCW. But yeah, Hack Myers. He's like, because he's one of those guys that I never really heard about. Because I wasn't watching ECW at the time, but now I've gone back and watched all these shows and I'm seeing how over he is. And it's like, why isn't this guy talked about more? He was just incredible.
Dude. And another guy, like, what happened to, like, rest in peace, Hack. He was another, like, just beautiful, beautiful person. Nice guy. And magic. He was fucking magic. Who knew, like, what was going on? But people just took to him, and wow, it was unbelievable how over he was. It was crazy.
Do you have any Hack Myers stories, perchance? Because I'm a Hack Myers mark, so I need to know everything I can about him. Or was he just kind of just a regular guy?
Yeah, he was. He wasn't like out of control or crazy like a lot of the other guys.
Right.
He was always, pretty cool, calm, subdued. I remember, like, hanging at the Travelodge with him. He had like one or two girls he was always hanging out with.
Of course he did.
Yeah. He was the shot.
Stud. Like, of course. That's his opening line to anybody, and then they're all over him, I'm sure.
Right.
So
right.
Lucky devil.
Yeah.
But some other, speaking of ladies, we got Missy Hyatt and Lori Fullington in the ring. And I guess they were supposed to have a match, but I guess Missy broke her arm at some point. Maybe it was a house show or whatever it was. But so she can't wrestle. But then there's so much going on here. You also got Joel Gertner in the ring, who I guess is kind of aligned with Raven. So Joel, the ring announcer, has become a dickhead at this point.
Right.
And he's running down Missy. She's like, because Missy wants to fight, but they won't let her fight. And Joel's like, hey, if you want to rip somebody's clothes off, you can rip off this guy. It's like, okay, Joel, let's settle down. Blue Meanie's out there because, of course, Lori has Raven and Blue Meanie and Nova and Stevie out there. And Blue Meanie's like, hey, if you want to get to her, you got to go through me. So Missy canes the shit out of Meanie. He's out of here.
That's awesome.
And Stevie Richards gets in the ring. So it was like a few months ago, Stevie Richards sued Missy Hyatt for sexual harassment.
Okay. Yeah.
So Stevie's like, hey, I'll drop the charges if you denounce Sandman. And Missy just split second. She's like, all right, fuck you, Sandman. You have a tiny cock. I think that's what she said. Something about how he can't get hard because he drinks so much beer, which I don't know, might be true. But Sandman does not take too kindly to this, and Missy walks away from him, and Sandman just clocks her in the back of the head. I mean, the most cartoonish Singapore cane shot I've ever seen. Was just hilarious. I mean, everybody's stiff with everybody. It's just a wild time.
Was Missy done after that?
I can't imagine she stayed around too much longer because she's been paired up with Sandman for a while at this point, but now they're not a thing anymore. So I don't know where she goes from here. And if she's injured for real, like, I don't know what else there is for her to do, but yeah, I'm not sure personally.
Huh.
Do you have any memories of that pairing between Missy and Sandman and how that came to be?
I don't know how it came to be, but Missy was great. Missy was always super cool. I mean, especially at that time. I think every guy, well, maybe not every guy, but almost every guy that was a wrestling fan had a crush on Missy Hyatt in the 80s. So seeing Missy all the time in the back, and I would always say to myself, they're fucking. I just kept saying, I think they're fucking. They're absolutely fucking. They gotta be.
Do you think they ever used the cane?
Who knows?
They had to. They had to at least once, right? Just to see.
Hey, you never know what Hack.
Probably a lot of splinters though, so maybe not.
Yeah,
maybe not. But they probably don't care. Probably the least of their worries. But speaking of STDs, we got a Bad Street match. We got primetime Brian Lee versus Bam Bam Terry Gordy. What a pairing here, huh?
Yeah. Now there's two guys. Okay, Brian Lee, where the hell's he at? And I mean, man, I remember when Terry came in, I was such a huge Freebirds mark. So
Right.
I was like, oh my God, fucking Terry Gordy, oh my God. When I walked in that locker room and saw him there, I was like, holy shit. But there was I forget the actual story of what had happened. There was something on an airplane or something. Like he almost had a stroke or something like that. I don't remember the exact details.
Mhm.
But he was never the same after that. And you can tell, like, he just like kind of sat in the locker room to himself.
Mhm.
You go over and say hello, and he was cordial and just, but he seemed very quiet and shy and just kind of almost lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he turned it on in the ring, though. I'll say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
He was kind of having a renaissance at this point. Because he looked in good shape. I mean, he was
Right.
moving around with Brian Lee. I mean, Brian Lee, I
Right.
think, he's a young guy at this point, and he doesn't seem out of place. So
Right. Brian Lee was another dude. Hey, cool dude, good dude. He was another guy I was really happy to came into ECW because I was watching. I was a huge mark for all the for Smoky Mountain. I loved all the stuff Cornette did there. So when he came up, I was really happy.
No, yeah, he's super. I mean, he's a diamond in the rough with ECW at this point.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he was a perfect fit.
Yeah,
the bulldozer. The bulldozer. That's right. The bulldozer, Brian Lee.
Yeah. So what are the rules of a bad street match, Bay?
There are no rules.
Oh,
there are no rules.
Is that different than any other ECW match?
It didn't. Whatever match it was, in reality, had no rules.
Right. Yeah, I guess. But they fight to the street eventually, so maybe that's why it's a bad street match.
Did they go out the? I'm thinking I'm like flashing back. Did they go out the front door?
So they went. Was there an exit by the stage? I don't remember where exactly.
No,
they went out.
by the stage was the dressing room. So they had. I think they went out by the. Oh no! You know what? In the corner there was a side like fire exit.
Well, it looked like a shithole wherever they left. I mean, there's graffiti everywhere. There's trash, but I guess that's the appeal. But
that
they
might
didn't
have been side door then.
Just trying to give you mile markers here,
Yeah.
But they're slamming each other against like the garage doors or whatever that are out there. So there's a car alarm that goes off. Somebody's car gets. I don't know whose car that was, but hopefully they weren't too mad about that. But they get back to the ring eventually, throwing each other through tables and throwing chairs at each other, which is kind of, I mean, most of the matches on this card are that. But
yeah.
But in the ring, Brian Lee goes for the choke slam. Terry Gordy counters, locks in the Asiatic spike? Do you remember? Which is, I guess, just his thumb into the neck or something along those lines. But that gives him. So Terry locks in the spike, and Brian Lee goes down to his back, and Gordy's able to pin him with this spike, which is a very interesting finish. It's kind of like almost like the mandible claw kind of was. You kind of lock it in and then pin the guy. Which I thought was very unique. I don't know if that was always his finish, but it was the first time I'm seeing it. But I thought it was.
He used that for a minute. Yeah, for a little while he was using that.
Yeah, but no, it was a very entertaining match. Two big guys. I mean, they could have just had an in-ring match. I thought maybe that would have made it stick out more. I guess they did go outside, so that was their extra spice they threw on it. But
they were big boys, man. They were big, and they moved. They, it wasn't like they weren't big and slow and methodical. They could fucking move.
Yeah, no, they're two treats to watch always in this era. For
absolutely,
sure.
Absolutely.
Speaking of a treat to watch, we got old Doug Furnas up next, taking on Rob Van Dam. Which
you know what? When I saw this in the listing, I was like, I kind of remember him being there for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally a minute.
I think this is the first time he popped up. I don't know if he came after this.
I think it was. I think he might have just did the one shot, maybe the one weekend of shows.
Yeah, because I think he was all Japan at this point, I believe,
Okay.
right? And Rob Van Dam's still fairly new. He's been there for a few months, but he's already made a name for himself.
Yeah.
And yeah, I saw this on paper, and I was like, "This is probably really good." And I watched it, and it was like
Yeah.
It was very. I'm surprised both these guys walked out. Is how I'll put it. I mean, it was a lot of throwing each other and a lot of landing on necks on this match. It was very it was rough at certain points, but there were certain points where that rough around the edges kind of approach made it look good. Like there's one point where Furnas does this German to Rob Van Dam, and he like throws him straight up, and Rob lands right on the back of his neck, which like. Ooh. That was right at the beginning too, and that just like set the tone for the whole thing. I don't know if there was like mistimings between the two or what it was, but I don't know. Any memories of this match or?
I had none at all. None at all.
It's like I've never heard of this match. It feels like one that would stick out, like, and you would see it on social media or whatever, or clips of it. But
yeah, like I almost feel like when I saw it on the results. Because I used to sit at that monitor and watch the whole show, every arena show. And I almost feel like I must have been like not impressed or disappointed in this match.
You were getting stretched by Tazz probably at this point for having too good of a segment.
Hey, it could have been.
Yeah. I'll run down some spots in this match and see if anything triggers your memory. Furnas, he goes for like a stun gun on Rob Van Dam on the top rope, but just kind of like tosses him over the rope and sends him on a table. Sends Rob on the apron, and then Furnas shoulder blocks him off the apron, and Rob Van Dam goes flying into the crowd into like the fourth row, which is just madness. Okay. Furnas does a gorilla press off those bleachers that you were deathly afraid of.
Right.
He picks up RVD and tosses him off. And they fight at another match, just fighting at the stage. And these stage seats, if you're a fan, those are the best seats to get. Because every goddamn match is there.
It's like all of a sudden, it's like being at a Kiss concert and Paul Stanley flies out to the back, and you have those seats right there. That's what it was like.
Some table spots. There are some times where they're like throwing each other onto tables, but the tables aren't breaking. But I feel like that kind of looks more devastating sometimes. There's a point where Rob, so he like doubles over Furnas. So Furnas is bent over, and Rob hits him in the back of the head with the chair, like up to death, like 12-6 to the back of the head, which looked gnarly. Did a few of those. And I don't know if he knocked him loopy, because right after that, Rob goes to the top rope, jumps off for a cross body. And it seems like Furnas was supposed to catch him into a power slam, but the timing was off, so it was kind of an in-between thing, which made for a really awkward-looking landing. Like, it's kind of just like diagonal. Rob landed, kind of just bent his neck, but he's Gumby, so he's probably fine. Tombstone from Furnas to Rob Van Dam onto a chair. I mean, this is a gnarly one. This is definitely one worth watching if you get time to check out the show.
It's not ringing a bell.
Yeah,
the only thing that kind of rang a bell was Rob going into taking a bump into the stands, into the field.
Right. Yeah. But Rob's able to get the win eventually. He kicks the chair into the face of Doug Furnas and gets the pin.
Okay.
And at this point, from a character perspective, Rob and Sabu are kind of feuding, and Sabu is trying to get Rob to respect him, but RVD doesn't respect anybody. But Rob's like, hey, I don't respect any of those jamokes in the locker room, but Doug Furnas, I respect you. And Doug shakes his hand and then pulls him in for a clothesline, and Rob, goes ass over tea kettle, and they have to stretcher Rob out after this clothesline, and then another German suplex. So Rob gets stretchered out, so he pays for his sins, I guess, here. Okay. So I don't know if they had plans for Doug Furnas in ECW. I mean, he is a big bastard. He's a great look, and he was very entertaining to watch, if nothing else.
You would think doing that spot, they were going to do something with him.
Right. Yeah, but So Rob and Sabu just had a stretcher match as well. So I don't know if they're just playing into that, like the stretcher thing. But yeah, to your point, it would make sense. It seems like they're building up Furnas here, but I don't know. Don't know. But Tazz, so I guess Tazz just finished giving you wedgies and swirlies backstage or whatever he did. Because he's in this next match, taking on Tommy Dreamer, which, you know, two Mount Rushmore ECW guys, I feel like. So
absolutely.
I mean, Tazz at this point is probably one of the better characters, I would say, just as a solo. Because I mean, the MMA thing, the kind of, you know, coming out with the towel and Team Tazz behind him, the UFC almost kind of presentation, I thought was it set himself apart. And then his promo was really good. His ring style was good. I mean, what were your thoughts on, because like Tazz Maniac to Tazz, I don't know how much of that transition you saw, but what were your memories of that?
The whole Tasmaniac thing. Like, I remember when I started seeing the pictures and hearing about the gimmick in the magazines before I got into business. And I was like, oh, cool. That's a funny gimmick. That's a cool little take, Tasmaniac.
Right.
But I love what he converted it into, and he became, you know, like this believable powerhouse that, you know, people thought, you know, this guy who's 5 foot nothing is the baddest motherfucker walking the face of the earth.
Yeah. No, it's incredible how he was able to overcome that. I mean, choked out 911, who's a huge dude. Bam Bam Bigelow, he choked out. Paul Varlins, who was a big UFC fighter, he choked him out. So Tazz, I mean, they're building Tazz. I mean, he's a monster. Still building towards that Sabu match that'll happen eventually. So
that was a, you know, nice little thing too. They did, you know, they teased that for the longest time.
Yeah, and Tommy Dreamer at this point, it's kind of, he's got a few irons in the fire, I guess, because he's kind of feuding with Raven, but he's kind of on the back burner with Raven and Sandman doing their thing. Dreamer and Brian Lee have had a couple really good matches leading up to this.
You know, the thing, like, I felt like the feud with them just didn't work.
With Brian Lee and Tommy Dreamer?
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess if I'm remembering right, like, Brian Lee was supposed to be another kind of like person that Raven brought in.
Yeah, he was kind of a part of the flock at this point.
Yeah, but it just didn't work. It didn't have that.
There wasn't like a reason for them to fight.
Yeah, that's because with the whole Raven thing, there was that amazing storyline of summer camp when they were kids and all this stuff, and Beulah. You know, there was that whole thing, and it just made sense and was almost kind of somewhat believable for people on the outside. So the whole thing with, when you're going from such a, I mean, let's face it, that Raven Dreamer feud was just a iconic feud of all time. You know, and it's definitely like a top 3 feud of ECW, history of ECW. So it's kind of hard to follow that up.
Yeah, it's like almost like, because there was never a resolution to it, so it's almost like it's paused at this point, which is interesting.
Right.
Not really sure what it's like. Dreamer and Brian Lee, it just felt like Tommy was fighting the henchman of Raven. It's
right.
And they did give us
the scaffold match.
Yeah,
that was a scary fucking scaffold.
Right. I was about to say, it gave us some iconic moments. You know, Dreamer getting thrown off of balconies and whatnot. So if that's the thing it served, I guess it was worth it to some extent. But I don't know.
So this match, was it just a regular match or?
Yeah, so Tazz comes out first, and he lays out the thing, because Tazz, obviously, he's the, you know, jiu-jitsu guy, and Tommy Dreamer is the epitome of the hardcore style, fighting in the crowd, chairs, tables, all that. So Tazz is like, hey, I don't want any chairs, I don't want any tables, we're not going into the crowd, I'm going to out-wrestle you Tommy Dreamer, and Tommy's like, all right, let's do it. But right away, Tazz gets a cheap shot in, tosses Tommy to the outside, hits him with a chair, which I just thought was hilarious.
Okay.
But they get back in the ring and they actually do some chain wrestling, which is very interesting, seeing Tommy Dreamer do like British style, like headlocks and transitions and counters and all that stuff. But doesn't last too long because it does kind of divulge into chaos eventually. He eventually gets out wrestled by Tazz because of course he does. So he has to resort to using a chair. He does a dive off the top rope onto Team Tazz. And at some point, Tazz hits a German suplex to Tommy Dreamer, hits him with a belly to belly through a table. And at some point, the ref takes a tumble. I forget. I think he accidentally hits him with a chair or something, but ref's out. And then at this point, all hell breaks loose. I don't think we even get really a finish to this match because Tazz locks in the Tazz mission onto Tommy Dreamer, but there's no ref, so he's just choking him out for the sake of choking him out. Beulah gets in to try to stop it because obviously she doesn't want to see Tommy get choked out and killed by Tazz. But Bill Alfonso's here and he stops Beulah, grabs her by the hair and throws her in the corner. And in comes Terry Gordy to make the save, but then in comes the Eliminators to hit the total elimination to Terry Gordy. And then in comes Brian Lee and hits the spike to Terry Gordy. And then in comes another ref. Total elimination to that ref.
Okay.
And then a few jobbers, I think it was Pablo Marquez, Donnie Allen. They all come in. They all get total eliminated.
Okay.
Bad Crew comes in.
Okay.
Total elimination to them.
Did I come in?
I was waiting for it. Bubba came in. And I think Sign Guy came in. I don't know what you were doing. I think you were just eating chips in the backstage area. I think you were maybe still trying to hop those bleachers or something. Maybe there were bleachers in between the ring and the backstage that you couldn't cross.
Because I do remember taking, I don't remember where though. I did take total elimination somewhere.
Yeah, maybe it was off camera.
Right.
Which would be, of course, why wouldn't it be?
Sure.
But yeah, Sign Guy, Bubba gets choke slammed by Brian Lee. Then Hack Myers. Surely the Shaw will save the day.
Yes.
He doesn't. He gets suplexed by Tazz.
For a second. He gets a shot in.
Oh yeah, he gets some of those jabs. The crowd's with him. The crowd's ready for it, but
and then shit.
It gets dropped on his fucking head. And then total elimination. There's like 8 or 9 total eliminations in like a minute here. So, and then it's like Tazz. So it's Tazz, Brian Lee, and the Eliminators are standing tall, and they're all raising each other's hands. So I don't know if this is like a faction or if it was just a one night thing, but it looked like a badass faction if that's what the deal is here. But just a lot of chaos. That's all I can say about this match. Like I said, I don't even know if there was a finish, really.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. You're like, was there a finish? It was just chaos. No. There's 20 guys doing run-ins, and there's just lost track that there was actually a match.
I do think if you would have made a run-in, though, you would have stopped it all. I think you would have taken them all out, personally.
I would have been blown up by the time I got to the ring.
What was your finish, if I can ask?
I think at that time I was doing, it was like a standing DDT.
Okay, huge move back then.
Kind of like a bulldog, but just like a standing bulldog, just boom, boom, up and down.
Okay, I like it. Hey, that's all you need.
Yeah.
DDT is underrated.
Yeah. Oh, I love the DDT. I used to do a DDT. I used to do a spine buster because I was a huge Arn Anderson mark.
That's a good way to follow for sure.
Yeah.
But also somebody else that likes DDTs is Raven, and he's in this next match.
There you go.
So it was on the card as a double dog collar match, and it was listed as Raven and Shane Douglas versus Pitbull number 2 and Sandman. But it starts out with Sandman just in the ring by himself.
Okay.
Because he's lost his wife, his son, his partner. So I guess Pitbull was taken out maybe at a house show or at TV before this. So he's alone, but he has a dog collar around his neck and the chains hanging from it. So I guess he's still expecting a dog collar match.
Like I kind of remembered that, like they were trying to make him look like kind of sad and
yes.
Yeah.
Because he's like but I've lost all these things, but I still have my life. I still have ECW.
Right.
And he gets on his knees and he's like, come on, take me out, Raven, take me out.
Right.
Then,
Okay.
So Raven, Blue Meanie, Nova, Stevie Richards, Shane Douglas, they all come out. And he's trying to cane everybody. He canes everybody but Raven, basically. And then Raven has Sandman's son, Tyler, of course, in between him and Sandman. So he's using him as a shield of sorts. So as Sandman is distracted by his son, of course, wearing the leather jacket and the denim and all that stuff, he's with Raven. Lori, from behind, Sandman's ex-wife, clocks Sandman in the back of the head with a cane. Raven hits a DDT, and I guess that's when the match starts, I suppose. It's kind of unclear. Like Shane Douglas is here, but he's in street clothes. Pitbull doesn't come in till later with a neck brace, so it's kind of disjointed a little bit, but I don't know. These are probably two of the hottest feuds, I would say, in one match, but the match itself, I mean, it was kind of par for the course as far as this card was. There's just a lot of chaos.
Yeah, that's what I kind of like looking back over. Like the card itself doesn't look like a big, spectacular blowaway arena show like normal. It just seems like a lot of chaos.
Yeah, the in-ring on this show, like there was some fun story pivots and some fun segments, but there wasn't like there's usually at least like one match that's like, oh, that was a great wrestling match, but there wasn't really that on this show. So it's a 2-on-1 beatdown for a while.
It's like you said earlier, the standout match on the show was the Dudleys.
Right. And that's not, it's not like, oh, it's just the Dudleys, but because it was a really great match. It was a fun match. But yeah, there wasn't that like, there's usually like a really technical, like a Too Cold Scorpio versus Eddie Guerrero type of match that's on the show. But there wasn't that. It was because WCW's pillaged all of those, those guys. But
exactly.
Pitbull runs out there to save the day, has a neck brace on, but then rips it off when he gets into the ring. So I don't know if he's actually injured or if it was all a ploy. But he ends up getting pile driven by Shane Douglas immediately. And I will say though, because we're fresh off the heels off of Pitbull number 1 suffering that neck injury. So he's out there in the halo and everything. And the crowd,
that was unbelievable. That whole angle and wow.
Yes.
I remember with that, when that happened, looking at the monitor and be like, what the fuck is Gary doing? Like, is he lost his mind?
Are you talking about when he got ripped down by Shane Douglas by the halo?
Yeah, with the halo and Shane's like this.
Yeah.
I'm like, that fucking thing's bolted in his skull. What is he doing?
Yeah, so like I said, I wasn't really familiar with this. I think it was the last show when Pitbull number 1 came out with the halo, and I'm looking at this, it was like, oh, this has got to be a gimmick, right? Like, it's so like a cartoonish looking halo around his head. They got to be playing it up, but I mean, it was a real thing, unfortunately. Did he came back to wrestling eventually, didn't he?
Yeah, he's still wrestling today.
Look at that. Got a happy ending to that.
Yeah, he just recently opened a wrestling school down in Florida, and he's actually, I keep seeing the flyer being shared out online. I think in Ohio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see him on Twitter all the time. Yeah,
he's wrestling Shane.
Oh really? Shane Douglas?
Yeah.
Wow. Finally getting his revenge, right?
30 years later, the feud has not died.
Wow, I'm actually pretty hyped for that. That's awesome. But yeah, he's still at this point freshly injured, and the crowd is super invested in this because why wouldn't you be?
Yeah,
like Pitbull's got the chain wrapped. Pitbull number 2 has the chain wrapped around Shane Douglas, and the crowd's chanting "break his neck." So it's like this thing's resonating with the people. It's like they want to see Shane Douglas killed, and it's like this is such good shit. What else happens here? We got just a lot, because the dog collars come into play. They're like taking off the collars and putting it on different people. It's kind of just getting thrown around willy-nilly. It doesn't really play too much of a part in it. It's more like the chain is just being used as a weapon for like punching, like wrapping around your fist and punching people. And I mean, there's a lot of blood in this match, if nothing else. Okay. So, Blue Meanie comes in with a meanie salt out of nowhere, but misses because of course he does. Raven, okay. Raven then loads his boot, which I want to get your thoughts on this. Loading the boot, taking the boot,
The big
kicking it.
kick to the ground.
What are your thoughts on that? Or just like maybe explain the logic of it.
I mean, as a kid, when I was 11, 12, maybe even 13 years old, watching wrestling and seeing something like that, you're like, oh my God.
He's loading it up.
He's loading the boot. Loading the boot. Don't load the boot. But what the fuck? Who came up with that? And why did we believe it? I mean, that's the best thing. We believed it because the commentators put that shit over to make you believe. The job was being done properly all the way around.
Because I guess the logic is that there's a steel plate in the heel of the boot and you're kicking it to...
And all of a sudden it's going into place.
How did it stay in the heel this whole time? Why not just kick him with the heel?
Why wasn't it there during the whole match? All of a sudden, now you're... I don't know.
I mean, you can't be super mobile with a big steel plate in your boot. I mean, that's got to cause a bunch of athlete's foot, etc. So, don't know. But Raven loads it up. I think he takes his boot off and smashes it against the turnbuckle. It's very dramatic. And but Pitbull's able to duck the boot.
Okay.
Grabs it. Hits Raven with the boot, the loaded up boot, and hits Raven with it and pins Raven. 1, 2, 3. So Pitbull number 2 gets the pin over the world champion here, which felt like a big deal. Douglas he skedaddles. He wants no part of this.
Yeah.
And so Pitbull gets the win. So there's a little bit of comeuppance on Pitbull's part, I guess. But then in the ring, Raven... So he's still hiding behind Tyler. And Sandman's in the ring. He wants at Raven, but Tyler's in between them. So Tyler goes up to his dad. He's like, hey, Dad, give me that cane. So Sandman hands over the Singapore cane to his son. And then his 7-year-old son hits Sandman with it a few times. But it's it's a kid hitting you with it. So he doesn't really sell for it. But then Raven comes from behind and clobbers him and then hits him a bunch of times with the cane. So... more fuel to the fire with this story. So I thought that was pretty good for what it was, I guess.
Deep, crazy. I would love at some point to interview Tyler and be like, do you remember that had to be weird.
Yeah. I mean, those cane shots, I'm sure you've taken cane shots, right?
I got it once.
Just once. How's it feel?
It's not too fun. I mean, it's a quick sting. It's a quick sting. I was putting an opening tag match, me and Pablo Marquez against Bad Crew. They needed somebody for the match, and it was go out there, work, 5 minutes, and then Hack's going to come out and cane everybody.
I was about to say that seemed like how they started all their shows for a while, which is hilarious.
So Hack pulled me aside and he said, when I hit that ring, you feed to me first. Take one shot, take the powder, and go back to the locker room. You don't belong out there. He's like, I'm going to kill these guys. I said, all right. And as I was walking back to the locker room, all I kept hearing was crack, crack, crack.
Because he swings that thing, man. I mean, no one better at it.
That's it.
Well, that brings us to the main event. We got the ECW tag team titles on the line. It's a steel cage weapons match. The Gangstas, the team of Mustafa and New Jack, are defending against the Eliminators. Of course, John Cronus, Perry Saturn. So you said you kind of went through this match a little bit. I mean,
I did. It's first off, you have a steel cage match, and the first 5 to 7 minutes of the match are in the stands. It's not even in the cage.
My first note on this match was, why even bother with the steel cage?
Right. Just put the cage around the arena, and then it'll be a lot easier. There you go.
That's a good point. That's smart thinking.
Yeah. watching it, my instant thing watching it when I saw Cronus, I missed John. Fun
Oh
guy.
yeah.
Fun fucking guy. And talented, man. Like, big fucking dude. He had like a weird build to him, but he was so agile and just could fucking move, man. And Perry was like a cat when I was watching this match. I'm like, that motherfucker just like would spring up to the top of the cage, and he leaped off the top of the cage, I think 5 times.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. Every time you turn around, he's on top of the cage, jumping. At one time, he jumped out to the all the way to the outside. I mean, this was just a classic, true ECW brawl.
It's a New Jack match.
It's a New Jack match.
You know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, of course, and just I mean, especially like Mustafa, like doesn't get credit at all. Like, you never hear. I mean, you see like little flashes in this match of stuff of Mustafa. You're like, fuck, he's got stuff there. Like he could go. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there 4 talented guys in this match.
Totally.
And it's also worth bringing up like the build to this match. So New Jack, he cut a promo on one of the TV shows leading up to this about how I think it was like his nephew, he got shot and killed in his I don't know if this is real or if it was just a thing, but because I guess his family is in, you know, a bad neighborhood and not a lot of money to them, and how New Jack, he's like relying on winning the tag titles to bring more money to his family. So it's like, I'm automatically establishing like, okay, this guy needs to win. This guy needs to win these championships. So he has that motivation behind him. And he's like, he wins a match at some point on TV, and he's holding up like this stack of money, and then the Eliminators come from behind them and rob them of the money. And it's like, these guys are dickheads. So a very personal feud between the two that was kind of built to this point. But in like watching the match, it just felt like, you know, spot after spot after spot. Like I didn't feel the hatred between these guys, even though they're obviously hitting each other with weapons and stuff. But it just, I don't know, it felt very like it's a New Jack match. I mean, that's kind of what it is. Just, you know, walking around the arena, walking and hitting and chairs, and here's we'll throw this piece of table at you, I guess. But
I mean, that's a good point you brought up, because a lot of I think a lot of what started happening in ECW was just that, where it became a lot of, instead of, you know, hey, let's open with this and let's finish with this, and then we'll play it by ear the rest of the way. It then started becoming, you know, so much planned out to where that's what you have today. Where, I mean, you could see, I mean, it to me, when I've been starting to watch a little bit more and more now the last few weeks, it just looks like 60-70% of the match is completely just already planned. You know, they're trying to put themselves in those spots and positions to get, and it's funny because the thing I say to myself is they're trying to get their stuff off. You know what I mean?
right.
Which, yeah, that's what everybody's trying to do. But like when you look at the Eliminators and the Gangsters, it was, I mean, I guess it's naturally about that, but I think also too they just having fun beating the shit out of each other. You know what I mean?
That is, it feels like they're having fun out there.
Yeah, exactly. There's like another side to it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they had a bunch of matches too. I mean, they had a certain amount of chemistry with each other, but it just felt like a lot of just, let me jump at you and you throw a trash can at me. Let me hit you with this chair. And like you said, Saturn. I mean, Perry Saturn, he starts off by hopping to the top of the cage and jumps out to the outside onto everybody. And then he throws New Jack back in the ring, and then he climbs the cage again and jumps off and hits him with a clothesline. And then he does it like 3 or 4 more times.
Well, you see, like when he goes to jump from when Perry goes to do the spot where he jumps from top of the cage to the outside, John's out there with Jack and Mustafa, and you see him like Jack was like trying to walk away, and John like grabs Jack, gives him like a quick little super kick to hold him, and then grabs him and pulls him in. And I'm like, oh well, here comes Perry, and then he's holding Mustafa, and then he jumps onto the three of them. But like that spot when it happens, and then they just lay on the ground. The thing I was realizing too, that walkway from the locker room to the ring, because there was so many people, it was just getting smaller and smaller and smaller to where it was literally just one person can walk down it. It's all that would fit.
Right.
There used to be the time where it was you're walking and you had security walking alongside you. Well, security couldn't fit no more.
Right. Yeah, because you'll notice that like they'll like walk like sideways almost like it's like barely one person can fit in the aisleway, which I think is a cool look. Personally, I feel like it just feels more like, I don't know, that packed in look just feels really cool. It feels like everybody's like a part of the action almost.
They totally were. A very, very important piece of the action. And as I watched this match, I was getting the same, like, about 5 years ago, my oldest daughter started getting interested and intrigued by the whole wrestling world when she started like researching my stuff and all. And she came to me one night. She said, "Dad, I want to watch an ECW show. Will you watch one with me?" So I put on November to Remember '95 and watched it with her. And it was probably the first time I've seen it since late '90s. And she was just like, she would just turn and look at me and watch and turn and look at me. And as she's doing this, like I'm watching, I'm saying to myself, we were fucked up. Like we were fucked up to be doing this stuff. And as I watched this cage match, I felt the same exact way. I was like, man, people don't truly realize what ECW was and what it was about, and not only what it meant to the fans was one thing, but it meant just as much to the guys in the ring, because you can see they're given everything they got. And I mean, Sandman's putting his 7-year-old fucking kid out there to cane him, for God's sake, and turn heel on him. Like, I mean, guys were doing anything they could because they believed in ECW as a whole. It wasn't even believing about Paul, which, Paul was like the Jim Jones and had us drinking the Kool-Aid because he was so amazing at his speeches, but you truly did believe in those three letters: the company, the locker room, and the fans.
Yeah. I mean, the passion is always there, whether you could say whatever you want about the wrestling or whatever is happening. Some shows are better than others, but like you said, there's always that effort. They're always just laying it all on the line for better or worse. So, and that's what this match was. And ultimately, the Gangstas ends up winning with, I think, Saturn. He goes up to the cage, top of the cage, one too many times, and he gets a trash can thrown at him. And he goes tumbling to the outside through a table, which is a gnarly looking spot.
Yeah.
And then just leaves Cronus in there to get power slammed by Mustafa, and then New Jack off the top with the chair. New Jack, Mustafa, they get the win, retain the titles. And I mean, the show's called Natural Born Killers, so you got to close it with that song playing. Only makes sense. But it was very ECW. That's what I'll say about this match.
When that song hit, I got chills thinking about it, man. When that song hit, you just knew. It was on, and that whole arena would go fucking nuts.
Oh, dude, the bass of that song, it was just, it perfectly represented them as well. And this is the fact that it was like in the background during like half of this match.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
fantastic.
Yeah. It's amazing. it was just such a great presentation, and it couldn't have been done anywhere else. Like Vince could never do that, and Bischoff couldn't have done. Nobody could have done that presentation, and that's why a lot of these guys, your Public Enemies, your Sandman, even Richards when he went to WCW, like a lot of these guys, and Raven, both of them, WCW and WWE, they just couldn't get over like they did with Paul, because it's, yes, there's multiple factors why they didn't, but I'm sorry, one little stupid key element was the music. That music became so iconic and trademarked to those characters. Not you never had before truly like entrance music meaning so much, except for maybe the Ultimate Warrior at that time,
Right.
or the Freebirds of Bad Street. But who ever had run-ins and the music would be playing?
Right.
It was like revolutionary. It just changed everything, and it just became so important to putting those characters over.
Yeah, I mean, a bad theme song can make or break the best wrestlers out there. It's happened.
Like we said about Tazz earlier, another key element to Tazz being over was that Kiss song, War Machine.
Yeah, and because I'm watching a lot of the stuff on Peacock, and of course, that's all censored and dubbed over, which is tragic.
See, I'm dreading that, because that's what I'm doing on my channels. I'm going through the history and I'm watching match by match. So I'm still in 1993. Shane Douglas just debuted, but none of the music stuff has really taken effect yet. But I know when that starts happening in the next year, I know like WWE like got rid of all the music and overdubbed it with their own self-made music, and it's just it's going to take away so much. And I'm gonna be angry watching it. I really am.
No, I bet, because like even me, because I didn't grow up watching this, so I don't really have the association of the music with these guys. But for this show in particular, I found a copy with the original music. And,
it's so important.
Oh, it's like, God damn, it just makes so much there. I mean, obviously, like Enter Sandman, the Gangsta song. Dude, Sandman, the dub music they use for Sandman is like, come on.
Yeah, it's horrible.
What are we doing?
And even the Dudleys with Highway to Hell. Every time I hear that song, I am instantly in the ECW arena. Instantly. Like I picture it instantly.
Do you have a favorite theme song from ECW? There's a lot to choose from.
I mean, the best entrance. Nobody's better than a Sandman.
Yeah, that's a hard one to beat. I mean, the way he would just drag it out because it was so hype.
You can't beat it. And I've been saying for a month now, with WrestleMania coming up here in Philly, well, not here, but back in Philly, can you imagine 70,000 people at Lincoln Financial Field singing Enter Sandman? Like whoever owns it now, TKO, whoever. Pay the fucking $10,000. Whatever you got to pay. Those 5 minutes will be probably the greatest footage you ever filmed in your life.
Man, you're just getting me excited for things that aren't going to happen, and it's making me very sad. But God, yeah, that visual is just
it's unbelievable. And I'm going to go a step further, because yesterday, Bubba Ray tweeted out, or I don't even know what to call it now, X'd out, that him and Devon should have one last match at WrestleMania and one last get the tables, and it should be in Philly. And he's absolutely right. So they should do fucking Dudleys versus Sandman and Dreamer. I mean,
Yeah.
hello.
Is that? I think they did that at one of the one night stands.
Probably, but
do it again. Run
Do
it back.
again.
WrestleMania 40.
Come on.
Philadelphia, 70,000 people. Let's go. I mean, God, I wish Hack Myers was still around because he would be a great candidate to close out the show. Yeah.
Can you imagine 70,000 people going, sha, 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 shit.
Hack needs to finish the story, damn it. Man, well, we can dream, I guess. But Natural Born Killers, yeah, it was a close second. It was Natural Born Killers. And anything from this show, any other nuggets that maybe you remember or anything that we maybe missed?
Honestly, nothing stood out except for, the Dudleys match.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, it was a lot of chaos. Again, it was just a lot of too many matches that felt too similar for me. Just a lot of crowd fighting, but there were some, high spot. I mean, good points in the Dudleys, of course, and Doug Furnas and RVD was just a car crash that I enjoyed for whatever reason.
That's what ECW at this point especially had become, was a lot of chaos. And something I look forward to watching as I'm rewatching it myself is seeing these Paul finishes, because they were so intricate, and Raven had his hand in it, with these crazy finishes where it wasn't like a 1, 2, 3 step and then boom, pin. It was like 1, 2, 10, 20 step of, you don't know how many people are running in. You don't know how many false finish. It was chaos. It truly was chaos. But again, it changed the business so much.
It's a precursor to the Attitude Era. That's for sure.
Oh,
all
totally.
The weapons and violence and reality elements that WCW at this point was capitalizing with the NWO. So I mean, yeah, ECW's effects were felt everywhere.
I'm gonna write this question down, because I'm gonna pose this to people. I've been doing a lot of stuff on my Facebook page lately and getting a lot of traction. But I'm gonna ask you this question: do you think the current roster of WWE can pull off ECW / WWE Attitude Era?
Just with how culture is nowadays, like the blood and the language and the violence, I don't think to a WWE level, I don't think that would make a comeback. Because you have like GCW and stuff around doing that kind of stuff. The deathmatch stuff is still going, but I don't think the mainstream would see that. Maybe like language and stuff, but I don't know.
What do you think's going to happen with Netflix when they go on Netflix? Do you think they're going to turn it up a notch, or
that's what I was thinking? Because I don't think there's ads,
right?
Raw, but I don't know what kind of restrictions Netflix. But Netflix has some crazy shit.
No restrictions.
So, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't see Raw and SmackDown and NXT having like distinctly different tones to them. It'd be interesting. I mean, I would love it. I would love to see the differentiation between the different brands, kind of give them their own identities. But yeah, I don't think it'll get to this level, like 96, late 90s. But potentially, I think they could bump it up from where they're at now, personally. I don't know. What do you think?
Isn't it crazy? I mean, if you crazily think about it, like, 25 years ago, almost 30 years ago, the stuff that was being done, like, it is just not, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not safe to show to people now, I guess. People might be too offended or up in arms or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, wrestling's weird because it's like, it's a TV show. Like
Yeah.
TV shows and movies, they have people getting killed and murdered and bleeding and just assaulted in various different ways. But
Mhm.
wrestling is almost like, oh, is it real? Is it not real? Can we? So it's like in the context of a TV show, there shouldn't be any reason not to be able to bleed. And
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like blood is the least of their worries. When you got people getting dropped on their heads every other match, I feel like it's more dangerous to do that than to bleed. But
Yeah.
that's just from a spectator. But
Well, I remember, like, when I was a kid watching wrestling, and around, I think it was around 84, when they would show blood on TV, they started showing the big X over the screen,
Right.
and you couldn't see nothing. And I would be like, "What are you doing?" Like, I thought it was so stupid. I mean, it also, like, put it over to a point, but it was like so hokey, so bad.
I'll tell you, I can't stand like modern day steel cage matches with no blood. That's just like war games. Oh, we're gonna get in there and murder.
You used to have 10 guys going there, and all 10 were bleeding, and now you don't
rusty cage.
You don't see a drop of blood. How do you do a cage match and nobody bleeds?
The goofy tables that are just perfectly split down the middle, and just brand new trash cans. Like ECW had trash cans that they just pulled from backstage that has trash in it, throwing it at people. I bring that back,
I don't
know. Maybe one day.
It's like, it's almost like, can you some of these stars in these federations now take some of them chair shots that I took from Devon and Axel and whoever else, and then it's such a different ball game now. Like, it's very I'm doing these interviews, these chewing the fat interviews with the guys, and Johnny Hotbody I interviewed, who was an ECW original, and I think he really summed it up. I mean, wrestling nowadays it's so Hollywood. When we were trained, and he was one of my trainers, we would have classes. Like, our training was Monday through Thursday, 2 hours was a training class, and you never knew where they would be like, all right, guys, it's chop class.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you know what chop class was?
Just chopping each other.
Well, no. You were getting chopped.
Oh.
Because you were the student. So you had to go in the corner, and everybody that was there that night would take turns chopping you for 2 hours to try to break you and see if you were strong enough or man enough to withstand the beating, and to see if you really wanted to be in this business, in this sport.
Right.
So by the end of the night, I mean, your chest is just busted open and bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, I'm paying for this. Like,
this is wrestling.
this is wrestling.
When do I become a millionaire?
Yeah, millionaire. Okay. When do I come 100-aire?
Right. I mean, you probably still get residuals from Dudley Boy merch, right?
When? I have not seen a penny.
Are you telling me that the finances of ECW weren't up to snuff?
Not for me. I mean,
no.
Not. And it's funny because then, even I was told by many people, and I was like, yeah, no. I was told by many people for years, when the Dudleys started really taking off in WWE, and they started putting out DVDs and all this stuff, like, I was all over these DVDs, and people are like, that's you, that's your likeness. You can sue Vince and get money. Go get your payday. And I was like, I don't want to ruffle feathers. I don't want to cause no problems. I don't want to. I mean, what were they going to give me? They'd probably say, oh, here's $1,000. Shut up. Goodbye.
I mean,
I would not get Janelle Grant money,
Yeah. No, you got to do more
for
that.
Like that shot?
I mean, there's got to be a Chubby Dudley action figure, a T-shirt out there, a bobblehead. If there is, I'm gonna
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. We'll get that made. We'll get that figured out. Maybe
we're gonna figure that out.
We'll spread the word. But man, I appreciate you hopping on here. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come on, talk some old ECW. Where can everybody find you and all the shenanigans you got going on?
All right, I got a lot of shenanigans going on. Look for Chubby Dudley Official on YouTube, where I am doing a ECW retrospect time capsule, however you want to call it. I'm going through, I'm watching match by match history of ECW, and I am also going through and finding the old ECW original stars from Eastern Championship Wrestling, and when I get to I'm trying to make it coincide so it goes along with what I'm watching. So when I get to the Extreme Era, I'll start talking to those guys, but doing the interviews with the guys, and I'm getting the dirt. I'm getting the true behind the scenes of them, their characters, their careers, their feelings on how they felt in ECW originally, how they felt afterwards, and some interesting and ugly things being aired. So check it out at Chubby Dudley Official on YouTube, and also I have my Facebook page, which I've been very, very interacting with everybody, and nice. I did a Facebook Live last week. I'm going to do another one very soon, and just and I'm letting people come on and talk to me just like this. I give you the link. Come on, talk to me, ask questions, and let's shoot the shit, and let's hang.
Beautiful. And you got your OnlyFans going, so you got that income coming in, right?
Hey, you know what? I got to get the money together to paint the Chubby Dudley action figure.
Once again, thank you to Chubby Dudley for hopping on the Apron Bump and giving his insight on what ECW was like back then as we talked through this chaotic show, Natural Born Killaz 96. Great time with Bay. Go give him a follow on all the social medias, YouTube, Facebook, at Chubby Dudley Official on YouTube. If you want more from him, he's a great follow. He's a great channel on YouTube. Also very active on Facebook, so go check him out there. And check me out at Apron Bump. Find me on X, TikTok, Grinder, Chat Roulette, Feet Finder, Christian Mingle, Black People Meet. All that stuff. And with that, there's only one thing left to do, and that's to hit that goddamn jingle, Bartholomew. WCW, ECW, WWF, who's the hardest promotion? Eric or Vince or Paulie? I think we can agree, though, it's mostly shit. Alrighty then. Let's grade this show, shall we? We'll hop into all the scores and the categories and all that stuff here in a second. But first things first, let's give this show a grade. From a scale of A to F, or from a scale of S to F, S being one of the best shows of all time to F being an unwatchable piece of shit. So, by the way, I think in future iterations of this, because we're already too deep into it. In like 1997, when we do this, I think I'm going to start doing it by a numerical grade as opposed to a letter grade. Just because I think there's just a lot of, like, I'm looking at this list, and not all B's are like the same quality. Not all C's are like, there's C pluses and C minuses is what I'm saying. So I think just, throwing that out there, seeing what y'all think. Leave a message in the Discord or something, which I forgot to plug in the beginning, but whatever. So Natural Born Killers, S to F. What are we thinking? I think C at best. Just right out the gate. Because like we talked about it, like there's a lot of good stories happening in ECW right now, but a lot of shows, this one included, it's just it's like they played to the crowd. They play to the live crowd, not so much to the watching audience, which is fine if you're there in attendance, but from a spectator, from somebody watching on TV, it's just a lot of mindless brawling, and like there's some good stuff on this show, right? But it just wasn't. These ECW shows, they need that at least one or two anchor points where it's like, here's some good wrestling. Here's some in the ropes, headlocks, power bombs, Russian leg sweep, snapmare. Like, give it to me, right? And this was just nothing but punch, punch, chair, chair, table, punch, chair, barricade, cookie sheet, Perry Saturn, jumping off a cage. Like I said, there was some good stuff on the show, but it was just very not monotonous. Monotone, I think, would be, I mean, it's probably the same thing, right? But point being, it's either a C or a D. What else did I give a D? I gave Cyber Slam a D. I can't tell you, I totally remember what was on that show, but this might be a C. I think there was enough good on this show to bump it up to a C. I think it's a C minus, but a C nonetheless. So we'll throw a C at it. I'm feeling generous today. So now we go over here and we see which promotion, WWF, WCW, and ECW, as these are the three promotions that we're comparing in all of this. We see which promotion has the highest average grade of their pay-per-views, their special events, what have you. And currently WWF is in the lead with roughly a B-ish, B minus, B plus. The WWF is in the lead in that aspect. So that brings us to the overall scoreboard. Now we're going to look at pay-per-view quality. We're also going to look at in-ring quality, out-of-ring quality. We're going to look at the roster, which company has the best roster right now, and just like a lot of the best and worst of 1996 up to this point. So we're only taking into account everything up until August 24th, 1996. So, as I said, WWF still in the lead of overall average grade. So they maintain those 6 points. By the way, just a quick recap of where we are in the point system. WWF has 11, ECW has 6, WCW has 3. Whoever has the most points at the end of the year of 1996, I will purchase a championship belt of that respective company. So we're getting towards the fall of 96. So we're approaching the tail end here, but there's still a lot of time for things to change. So like I said, WWF maintains at 6 points for the best overall average pay-per-view grade. Best pay-per-view of the year, still WrestleMania 12, as is. It's the only A I've given out so far. So WWF maintains at 2 points. Worst pay-per-view of the year, Super Brawl from WCW, still holds on to that one. -1 point for WCW. Best overall in-ring. So currently we're tracking WWF as the best. As they got the Shawn Michaels, your Owen Harts, they got Bret Hart, they got Undertaker, they got Mick Foley's over there. I mean, Mark Marrow, fucking Steve Austin. Like they quietly got a really solid roster from an in-ring perspective. And remember, we're looking at natural born killers. We're trying to consider if this show or if anything leading up to this show is going to change our mind in terms of any of these things. And nothing on this show would make me think ECW is better in-ring than WWF. So WWF holds on to that 4 points. By the way, if you're watching on YouTube, you can follow along on YouTube. I'm sharing my screen. If you're that kind of guy or gal. Best match of the year, currently tracking Shawn Michaels versus Diesel from In Your House 7. And the worst match was Ultimate Warrior versus Goldust, also from In Your House 7. So the question is anything on this show the best match of the year or the worst match of the year? I don't think anything was the best, for sure. Nothing was better than Shawn versus Diesel. I guess the match of the night, the Dudley Boys versus Dudley Boys match. That was good, but yeah, nowhere near as good as Shawn and Diesel, in my opinion. I mean, they're different matches, but you know what I mean. Was anything as bad as Ultimate Warrior versus Goldust from In Your House 7? I don't think so. I mean, there was a lot of plotting on this show, but nothing was really actively terrible. The main event kind of sucked, I'm going to be honest. Gangsters versus Eliminators, but that's just a Gangsters match, you know? I think that's the only one that would be in contention. So yeah, WWF holds on to the best and the worst. So they get +2 and also -1. So no changes to the scoreboard yet. Let's go on to roster and star power. Best overall roster. I don't think there's really been any changes since I last took a look at this. At least not on screen. Louie Spicolli's being more active in ECW. You got Doug Furnas. Nothing really else. I mean, we're tracking WCW as the best roster right now, and I don't think they've lost anybody significant. So we'll hold on to that. WCW maintains at 4 points because they got Hogan and Macho. I mean, I've spoken about it before. They got a heavy duty roster and a lot of variety too because they got the cruiserweights. They've been poaching all of the good ECW wrestlers, your Eddies, your Benoits, Jericho. Jericho's about to debut in WCW and the next WCW event I cover. So, yeah. Plus, obviously, your Hogan and the Macho Man, Ric Flair, and all that shit. So, WCW keeps that. Wrestler of the Year, we are tracking Mick Foley. And last episode, I ran into a conundrum here because Mick Foley's been in ECW and WWF this year. But, I ran it by the Discord, talked it through. I think it makes more sense to, instead of splitting it between the two, to give it to wherever the guy spent the most time and or had the most significant impact. And Mick Foley in 1996, obviously, much more significant impact in WWF than the few months he was there in ECW. So WWF will get those 2 points. Assuming nothing's changed, which I don't think anything on this show would warrant a change. Some guys I've considered in the past are like Tazz, Shane Douglas, RVD, Sabu, but nothing on the show. Not really any particularly strong showings from either of those guys on the show. So Mick Foley keeps that one. I guess we can change this to Mankind. Worst wrestler of the year, Ultimate Warrior. As time goes on, he's been off TV longer and longer. You know what I mean? The Ultimate Warrior, he came back, WrestleMania, right? He was only there for a few months. But goddamn, pal, was those few months awful. Worst wrestler of the year. Anybody on this show come to mind? Let me pull up my notes real quick just to make sure I'm not, making any glaring omissions here. None that come to mind. Worst wrestler of the year from ECW here? Probably Chubby Dudley if I had to pick. Wouldn't that be some shit? Fuck that guy. Worst wrestler, you can't even hop a bleacher. No, I'm just kidding. No, Mikey Whipwreck, no. Axel Rotten, no. Missy Hyatt, perhaps. Sandman. Yeah, no, none that come to mind. None that come close here, as far as I see it. I don't know. Maybe in time I'll throw like the Gangsters there or something because I'm starting to get tired of their style of match. But they got a lot of good character development behind them to the point where I don't think they would ever, in my eyes, be considered the worst of the year. So Warrior holds on to that prestigious honor as worst of the year. So WWF maintains that -1 point. So now it's looking out of ring. Now this is gimmicks, characters, promos, storylines, best overall in terms of this. I mean, I've been harping on it throughout this entire thing. ECW is just far and beyond what WCW and WWF are doing. Like, I know WCW has the NWO going on right now, but it's still very early stages. And ultimately, that's pretty much all they have going on. So And WWF, while they do have good, they have the best in-ring product and overall, like, just pretty enjoyable shows. Like, not a lot of really gripping story. Like Undertaker and Mankind and Paul Bearer, like that whole thing's good. Shawn Michaels, I'm getting annoyed with. Bret Hart's coming back, so that's something. But we're not there yet. So ECW maintains that easy. They keep that 4 points. Best character / storyline. We're tracking Sandman and Raven. Yeah, I'm inclined. I think that was solidified on this show, honestly. I think it's, if I was fucking Sandman's kid hitting him with a cane, are you kidding me? Yeah, so that, there's, like I said, there's a lot of good ones here to choose from. You could throw Dudleys in there. You could throw Eliminators and Gangsters. But I think Sandman and Raven also have pretty consistently good matches as well to accompany their awesome storylines. So I think that whole package, is just, it's the top for me. It's the top. So ECW maintains that 2 points. Worst character / storyline. I forgot I chose this, but it makes sense. Jerry Lawler from WWF. Just Jerry Lawler. Just him and Ultimate Warrior. Him and Jake Roberts. Him and God knows what else he's been doing this year. Everything is just tragically bad. And I don't think, again, I'm looking at my notes. I can't think of anything that would even come close to being as bad. You know what I mean? Maybe the EWA championship. No, man. It's all good, man. I'm looking at everything. Everything's ranges from good to great in ECW at this point. So Jerry the King Lawler will hold on to that -1 point. So overall, no changes. No changes. We did correct the Wrestler of the Year thing with Mankind. So the new totals, the score as it stands now, WWF 13, WCW 3, ECW 6. So WWF still in the lead here. But as the NWO gets cooking and as ECW reaches the tail end of 96, which I'm not super familiar with how this year ends, but a lot of room to change that as the year goes on. But that's where we stand, and that's about all Daddy has for you today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I love you all. If I could hop through this camera and give you all a big squeeze and a big tickle under the armpit, I would. But until then, I'll just say goodbye and hit stop record. So appreciate you all. Have a blessed day. Big old smooches all around. I'm hard.
Yeah.
And the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing like this. Let's get it started. It's the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing